Hi everyone, my name's AJ, also known as the PT Midwife on Instagram. I am really excited to be speaking with you today and to be a part of Mylocum's mini-series. As my Instagram suggests, I am a midwife currently working in the NHS. I came to my career fairly late in life, having worked in advertising, marketing, branding, that kind of thing. And then in my late 20s, I decided to retrain and completed my training and then worked at one of London's busiest maternity hospitals. And then at the end of last year, I relocated to the South Coast to live by the sea, where I currently am still working as a midwife in the NHS. But I also have a lot of other holistic kind of practices as well. So I'm a hypnobirthing instructor, antenatal educator, personal trainer, and baby massage instructor. So as you can probably tell, I am a bit of a birth nerd and super passionate about everything to do with women's health, particularly during pregnancy, birth, and that postpartum period and beyond. All that aside, I am actually here to speak to you about what it means to be a newly qualified practitioner in the NHS. Now, obviously, my experience is as a midwife. So if you're a newly qualified midwife, you've definitely come to the right place. But a lot of my advice today is going to be applicable to you in any kind of patient-facing role. So hopefully nurses, healthcare assistants, doctors, all of you guys as well. I hope that you find this video useful. So the first thing that I want to kind of mention is that everyone has been in your shoes before. It can feel a little bit like once you get your PIN number or you complete your final exams, that you are expected to know it all from the offset. And that's absolutely not the case. Everyone is always asking questions. Even for me, having been nearly over 3 years qualified now, when I relocated and changed trusts, I felt like a newly qualified midwife again because I had to ask so many questions because different hospitals have different guidelines, different approaches, maybe different drugs. So do not worry if you're having to ask lots of questions. It is far better that you're asking questions and you feel confident in what you're doing so that you can provide the best service and the best level of care for your patients. And that can sometimes be really difficult when staffing levels are particularly poor. Maybe your matron or your manager is rushing around and they've got a lot on their plate. But it's really important for your own development that you're asking questions and you're learning from others alongside with wanting to do the best that we can for our patients. So do not worry about asking questions. We all need to do it. We won't necessarily have everything up in our heads to call on. And that's actually something that I love about being a midwife and working in the NHS, that I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly developing my skills and my knowledge, and that's something that I really value. Now, it can feel like the current working environment is slightly negative. You know, with staffing shortages, with nurses going on strike, midwives trying to go on strike, problems with contracts, all of those things. And sometimes being in that kind of negative environment can be something that impacts you. Something that I found very important when I was a newly qualified midwife was keeping a little kind of diary or a notebook of all of the things that I've achieved that day or that shift. And similarly, things that were positive that happened as well, because then shifting your focus towards something that's positive instead of negative can have a really positive impact in how you're feeling about work. And equally then writing things down that you've achieved for the first time, whether it is taking a manual blood pressure, taking someone's blood, or actually delivering that baby as the first baby as a newly qualified midwife, to then have a list of everything that you can look back on even a week later, a month later. It is something that is so positive and so rewarding to actually see everything written down that you've achieved even in a short space of time. And that was something that I found really helpful in keeping a positive outlook when perhaps things weren't always so positive on a day-to-day. Following on from that then, it's really important to have lots of outlets outside of work that mean that you can get proper rest and relaxation. We all care so much about our patients, and sometimes it feels like you take work home and you're thinking about things and wondering what's happened. It's really, really so crucial that you've got these outlets, hobbies, whatever it might look like for you, that you are boosting your oxytocin and making you feel really good about things from a physical sense, but also from a mental sense. Now, midwives are forever talking about oxytocin with regards to the women within our care, during pregnancy, during the birth process and beyond. But actually, oxytocin is really, really important for healthcare professionals as well. It has a really positive impact on physical and mental health. So that might look different for different people. For me, I love exercise, and that's something that then releases endorphins and oxytocin. But for other people, it might be reading a book, going for a walk, going to the cinema, whatever it is you enjoy. Really try to explore those things on your days off, because it's going to make you feel better going into work when you are on shift. Similarly, having people that you can speak to that are familiar with what you're going through. So maybe you can create a WhatsApp group of other newly qualified practitioners where you feel comfortable sharing your experiences, maybe having a rant or sharing your clinical knowledge. That can be something that's really powerful and effective to have as an outlet. I personally also find it important to have outlets where I can speak to people on the phone or WhatsApp, friends, family, who are not so familiar with the NHS, because everyone is going through different work-related stresses, and that kind of thing is all relative. And I personally find it quite therapeutic and calming to understand other people's experiences that are outside of the NHS, because it can be quite easy to get bogged down and to be always looking inward of your own experience, and actually to get a bit more of a balance and understanding of what other people are going through, irrelevant of their profession, is something that I particularly value with regards to my mental health. I've also been very lucky and fortunate to have engaged with some talking therapies and counselling to strengthen my mental health as well. Now, every trust has this offering available to its staff, irrelevant of whether you're newly qualified or you have been qualified for a while and are very experienced. We're all human, and it's very normal to feel impacted by some of the things that we see on a day-to-day. You are in good company. You are absolutely not on your own in feeling stressed and burnt out and worried and anxious. So I really, really encourage you to see what is available at your individual trust, because it's something that I've had a personal experience with that has been really positive and has meant that I am the midwife that I am today. More practical things just to finish with then. Another notebook is something that is amazing to have, that fits into your uniform or fits into your scrubs, where you can just jot down things that happen on your shift. Maybe something that you're not too familiar with, or someone's medical history that you've never heard of before, because that can then focus your learning and direct your learning on your days off. I'm not saying that you need to be spending hours and hours on your days off thinking about work, but just spending 5 or 10 minutes to direct your learning will then mean that you feel more confident going forward should one of those things come up with a patient that you look after in the future. Pens. You can never have too many pens. I'm smiling because pens are like gold dust within the NHS, and it's going to go down really well if you're able to give a pen to your matron or one of your more qualified colleagues. So definitely packing a bag full of pens is something that I really, really recommend. And then following on from that, the only thing potentially more important than having loads of pens is having loads of snacks as well. Unfortunately, we are all too familiar with situations where maybe we don't get a full lunch break, or maybe you're having lunch that's more at a dinner time. But it's really important that you're keeping your energy levels up so that you can make good clinical decisions. And also, we've all been in situations where maybe you're speaking with a patient and you feel your stomach rumbling and they can hear your stomach rumbling. So learn from my mistakes and my embarrassment and have a snack in your pocket, maybe a cereal bar, some nuts, whatever it might be, that you can eat on the go or when you're sitting at the computer doing your notes. Because snacks are going to make you feel good. Again, thinking about oxytocin, if you know that you've got something nice to eat on shift, it can really cheer you up. And I can think of many, many situations where I have had stressful situations happen at work, and knowing that I've got a nice snack that I can eat at some point during the day has really cheered me up. So you might think that's a bit weird, a bit sad, but it's something that I really, really recommend, is having good snacks with you. That's all I've got time for today to speak about. Please do reach out to me if you're on Instagram. My handle is the PT Midwife. Similarly, feel free to share this video and share my account if you know anyone who's pregnant, you've got friends, family members, or perhaps you're pregnant yourself, because I've got lots of information on my page about how to have a healthy pregnancy, the evidence in maternity services and evidence-based practice, and also what the maternity system within the NHS looks like. So please do reach out, send a message. I'd love to hear from you. And I just want to finish by saying thanks so much to Mylocum for inviting me to speak, and hopefully I will speak to and see some of you in the near future. Bye.
I'm going to be talking about a few different topics in terms of myself and pre-hospital care. So first one up is critical thinking. So this is something that I think all of us in the medical field will do every day. The other aspect I want to just talk about is mentoring. Now, I think mentoring is really important. And again, just relating it back to myself, I think if you've had quite a good mentor, someone that's quite enthusiastic, that's willing to go that extra mile for you, it will show.